Okay guys, do you want to try something new with me? Today, I am playing with the new paint pens from MyPaintz. Now MyPaintz was kind enough to send me these to play with, but this is not a sponsored video. So let's see how these measure up. Hey everyone, I am Brenda, aka The Wandering Creative, and on this channel I share new materials, quick and easy art projects, and hopefully some creative inspiration that will help you spark some creative joy. Today, along with giving you a peek at the features and colors of these MyPaintz acrylic markers, I am testing them out on 8 different surfaces: paper, canvas, glass, ceramic, stone, metal, wood, and plastic. I'm also having my budding artist try them out. He is just a little bit excited. And stick around to the end where I share 2 of the creations I've made with these since they arrived, and trust me, you can do them too. So first, let's open these up. These markers come in 2 different packaging options. The larger 35-piece option, which includes 15 medium tip and 20 fine tip paint markers, and this 14-color fine tip option, which little mister is trying out today. And fair warning, when you open these up, all of the markers in this larger pack come individually wrapped, and it does take a hot minute to unwrap them all, so just be prepared for that. So let's look at these markers up close for a second. You can see with the medium tip we have a soft tip, whereas the fine tip has this plastic applicator. One thing I noticed is that the pens don't have color names or numbers on them, but for my needs, just having the colored cap is just fine. So let's check out the colors here. First, we need to activate all of these. So we shake, 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 and pump, pump, pump. Not too hard, just a few pumps should do it. And this isn't meant to be a compare them with Posca's video, although I think I will make one of those soon, so make sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss that. But I will say that the paint from these came out faster and more easily than has been my experience with Posca's, so that was a pleasant surprise. Now in the 35 marker pack, there are 6 additional fine tip colors that are not in the 14 fine tip only pack. Those are light purple, violet, sky blue, blue-green, fluorescent pink, and fluorescent yellow. When it comes to the medium tips, it includes all of the colors in that 14 pack fine tip plus the violet. So overall, I think this is a really good selection of colors, and I do love the gold and the silver. They're really shiny, opaque metallics. I do wish the white was a bit more opaque. It does dry a little more opaque than it shows when it's wet, but I still think it would take 2 to 3 coats to get these to work for my white paint pen embellishments. So I may stick with my other paint pens for the white specifically, but overall, I'm really impressed with these so far. Okay, so now it's time for the testing. Let's try these out on these different surfaces. So on paper, these go on really smooth and the paint is easy to control and vibrant. Along with this cute little flower vase, I use these pens on paper for the 2 projects I'm sharing at the end of this video. Let's just say I am a fan. Now, I don't work on canvas a lot because of its rough texture, but I decided to try a really simple design here, and I think it laid down really nicely. The colors stand out, and the control the pens give you versus painting with brushes is really valuable on heavily textured surfaces like canvas. I don't know how much the rough texture limits the lifespan of the marker tips though, so just something to think about. For glass, I just decided to try a really simple flower design, giving me the chance to use both the fine tip and the medium tip pens. Overall, I think it turned out really cute. No complaints here. If you want it to be permanent, the instructions do say that you need to put it in a 350-degree oven for about 25 minutes to seal, and this is for both glass and ceramic surfaces. Speaking of ceramic, for this ceramic mug, I wanted to give that white paint marker another go, so I decided to write a simple phrase I know so many can relate to: first coffee. I think it turned out just fine, and it would probably be more opaque on a surface with more texture to grab onto. Again, to make it stick, you'd need to seal it in the oven. Stone. So this was a fun one. I painted a couple of rocks for the video, but over the next couple of days, little man and I created a stone gallery of 21 rocks. Unfortunately, they were all hidden around the neighborhood before I got a picture. Both the fine tips and medium tips worked great on these rocks, and it was really fun to play with detailed layering once the previous layer was dry, of course. 5 stars, definitely recommend. Okay, so confession. I had the hardest time finding something metal to test on, so finally I landed on these cast iron weights. This was also a practical choice since it can be really hard to see the weight imprint, so writing the poundage on with these paint pens just made sense. I'm actually pleasantly surprised at how bright and opaque this yellow is, and I just might have to do this to all my weights now. For the wood test, I'm using the back of my son's wooden dino puzzle. This means this is finished wood as opposed to a raw wood surface. The paint went on so well to these, and I was surprised at how easily it was to fill this pretty large stegosaurus body really evenly. Sometimes paint pens do struggle with filling in larger areas like this, so this was a success. For plastic, I just decided to use a regular old plastic cup and do a task that many moms or anyone who works with small children have to do. Names. Little man will no longer mix up his cup with Brothers now that his name is on it. Now, this plastic is a very smooth surface, so this will wipe or wash off relatively easily once it's time to put the cups back in that cabinet. So this is a really nice temporary name option when you don't want to commit to a Sharpie, but also don't want something as wipe-offable as dry erase. Okay, that was so fun. One thing I love is that the fine tips are ultra fine, which is great if you need to fill in details that the larger tips just can't do. But one thing I did run into is that on more textured surfaces, so heavily textured paper or rougher rocks, the plastic applicator of the fine tip tends to catch. And sometimes that means a bit of paint scatters out. We're talking teeny tiny speckles, so not a big deal, just something to be aware of. So now let's see how these work for mini artists. Now, these are acrylic paints, so although they are non-toxic, probably not something that should be used by littles who are still in the whole put it in the mouth phase. My kiddo is 5 and a very careful artist, so I am totally comfortable with him using these to his heart's content. Which actually ended up being 2 solid days of creative play. Fellow moms out there, let's just agree that's a score. And here's what he had to say about the markers.
Yeah, it's like so shiny and it's like sparkling.
Did you have fun making it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mhm.
What did you like most about the pens?
What I liked most is that they could color a lot and they were really bright.
Now, one thing to be aware of is that although the caps pop off relatively easily for use, my guy tried to twist them off a few times, and this actually unscrewed the pen cartridge, which led to a little bit of leaking until we discovered it and just screwed it back on tight. Again, not a big deal, just something to be aware of when it comes to using these, especially with littles. Finally, it's time to see some of the pieces I've created using these paint pens during my daily creative wanderings. This first one uses only the MyPaintz pens, mainly the larger medium tip with the fine tip pinch hitting for really tight spaces. First, I drew an angular flower, then added black lines all around it to give that stained glass effect. Then I filled in each space, pinks for the flower, green for the leaves, and different blues for the stained glass background. Finally, I went over the lines a second time to get that finished, clean look. I actually really love it. Next, I used the paint pens as part of a mixed media piece. So I started with some Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2 crayons to lay in the background. Then I used a combination of my Micron pen and a Sharpie to lay in the black portions. Finally, I used the paint pens for the moon and stars. So the white to lay a foundation for the moon, and then the mirrored silver to make that shine pop. This one definitely makes my heart happy. Now, if you'd like to try these paint pens out for yourself, I've got a link for you right in the description. I hope this video is helpful. Now go do something creative.